to Mental Health Momentum, a Silicon Slopes podcast. I'm Dr. David Morgan. I'm a licensed psychologist and the director of mental health awareness here at Silicon Slopes. And on this podcast, we talk about mental health issues in business and beyond, and we look for solutions. And I'm going to introduce my guest to you today. This is Todd Sylvester. Todd, hello.
Hi, thanks for having me, David.
Thank you for coming. This has been a long time coming. One of my guests, almost 2 years ago, said, wow, you have to have Todd on the podcast. and so this is finally happening. I'm excited about this.
Thank you.
Todd serves as a formidable mental fitness coach, specializing in assisting individuals wrestling with addiction, anxiety, depression, self-esteem issues, and more. He offers personalized mentoring services to clients, both locally and internationally. Todd also earned his substance use disorder counseling degree from Utah Valley University. Distinguished for his remarkable ability to establish trust quickly, Todd has guided numerous individuals on their path to recovery, rediscovering happiness and achieving positive behavioral shifts. His unique gift lies in connecting deeply with individuals, helping them unearth their authentic motivations for change, and thus becoming the catalyst for lifestyle improvements. Transitioning from a belief of being broken to a profound understanding of his state as recovered, Todd draws on his own personal journey through addiction, forging authentic connections with thousands of teenagers, young adults, and parents, giving them hope. His story has been widely shared with a popular YouTube clip that has received millions of views and been translated into 3 languages. Is that the lemonade stand one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Excellent. Well, we're going to talk about that one a little later. Yeah. He is an author of a national best-selling book, I Am Recovered, and he has a podcast called Beliefcast, which is ranked in the top 150 in the world in mental health. He was selected as one of the 2024 Freedom Award honorees and joins an impressive list of previous honorees who have made unique contributions to defending and promoting traditional American values of God, family, freedom, and country. In addition to his professional journey, Todd enjoys a joyful and active family life, having been happily married to his sweetheart for 31 years, sharing the joys of parenthood with 4 children and relishing the blessings of 2 grandchildren. Amazing. Thanks for being here again.
Thank you. Thanks for reading that long-winded bio.
2 grandkids.
Actually, I have 4 now.
They're 4 now?
Okay, outdated. Bit. Yeah.
We have 6. Isn't that the most amazing blessing?
It is.
Are they local? Do you get to see them regularly?
Yeah, see them. Yeah, okay. Just had them all over yesterday. Yeah, very fortunate. And, they remind you of who you really are again. It's like, man, that's who I am, that joyful, happy soul.
Right. Before life gets its chance at us, right?
Yeah, before life hits us a few hundred different directions.
That's right. And getting back to that, though, is what's so important, right? Because
absolutely.
I don't think it's any coincidence that that's the way we start, and just kind of this joyful, like I said, happy experience. I think that's our goal.
Well, yeah, I'll even tell my clients that we had it figured out when we were kids. Right. When we were little kids, we loved ourselves. We loved everyone. Yes. We had faith as big as the universe. And somewhere along the way, life, throws us these curveballs, which again, that happens to all of us.
Sure.
And I think we don't lose who we are. We just forget. And a lot of what I do with my clients is help remind them of who they really are.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, tell me about just your own personal experience with mental health and kind of your journey, like how you got here. We were talking before the podcast saying that, how incredible it is that kind of this is where we are right now. So
yeah, it really is like one of those moments where I can pinch myself that I'm actually sitting here with you. It really is truly an honor and a blessing. And I'm lucky to be here and blessed. And I say that, I don't say it lightly, I guess is what I'm trying to say is, I started drinking when I was 11 years old. That opened up the door to every other drug that I could get my hands on. Became an alcoholic drug addict for almost 10 years. Had a miracle that changed the course of my life when I was getting ready to end my life. And when that happened, I decided I was going to dedicate my life to helping other people not have to go through what I'm going through, or if they're in it, if I can help them get out of there. And I said, man, this is what I'm going to do. And I've dedicated my life. I've been clean and sober now for 36 years. And it's my daily work. I've been doing it ever since. And so I'm very fortunate. I'm grateful that it happened because it led to this moment. Right. But I also understand how I'm lucky to be here in the sense that I shouldn't be here. I should have died.
Sure. And
a lot of people don't make it out of it. And that's the unfortunate part. Along with that, I had, mental health issues. I was at one point diagnosed bipolar. I had depression, anxiety on a level that, couldn't get out of bed, those kind of things, and a lot to navigate. But again, I'm grateful that I've gone through all that because it's taught me what I get to teach my clients to this very day.
Yeah.
So
Well, and mental health and substance use go together
Oh, yeah.
so frequently, right?
They're yeah.
One is often used, substances are often used to kind of,
Right.
clumsily deal with the issues of mental health. And then
Absolutely.
unfortunately, it just creates more problems and people
Yeah.
find themselves in this
Yeah.
downward spiral.
For sure.
One of the most effective things I think in the substance use treatment community is people like you who have experienced long-term recovery. And years and years ago, when I had finished my PhD, I was applying for jobs and couldn't find anything. So I'm applying to everything I can
Right.
possibly find. I even thought maybe I need to change my resume and don't even say I have a PhD. I thought maybe that's like hindering, me getting a job.
He's too qualified.
Yeah, exactly. And so I applied at a substance abuse treatment center because I was
Okay.
applying to everywhere.
Oh, okay.
I got an interview there and I went in and I was talking with the woman and she said, have you ever used substances in your life? And I said, no, I haven't. And she says, well, then how are you going to relate to these people? And it was such a great question. And I had a terrible answer. I can't even remember what the answer was. I didn't get the job. But there is something kind of uniquely, that uniquely qualifies someone to help, especially in the substance use community,
Right.
is, people saying, you get me, right? You
Yeah.
understand. You were exactly where
Yeah.
36 years ago, you were in a place where I am right now. And there's just an authenticity about it that's so amazing. So,
Yeah.
well, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that
Thank
you
you.
found your calling, even
Yeah.
though, well, and I was going to say, despite the way you got there, but maybe that's the great thing about it too, right? I mean, the journeys
Yeah,
we take to get here, they teach us so much.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer that life happens for us, not to us.
Right.
And it's hard to see that when you're in the thick of something really heavy and dark. But looking back, it opened up the door to, again, being here today,
Yeah.
doing what I get to do for a living, and to be able to be an influence for good. And so I look at it as I'm so glad that all happened. I wouldn't want to go through it again, I don't
Right.
think, but that's that's where I can, like you said, I can relate with people who are suffering and who are in a dark spot and feel like they can never stop their behavior and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it really does help in that area.
So let's talk about one kind of inflection point, and it's a story that you tell on your website about the lemonade stand.
Yes.
I have a follow-up question to that, but I want people to understand what this story is in the first place. So give me a brief description of what happened at that time.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's an amazing story, and it's a really long story, so I'm going to really shorten it up. But I'm trying to overcome addiction. I'm struggling. I'm relapsing
This is
all
how
the
long
time.
ago?
Boy, this is 36
Okay.
years ago, so a long time. But I'm in the thick of, I'm relapsing. I'm trying to stay clean. Then I relapse. I'm in a really bad mindset. My mental health is a mess. And I'm a bartender at the time, which is not a good idea when you're trying to quit drinking. But as a bartender, I'd get tips from the waiters and waitresses and then anyone that would sit at the bar, and I'd get a lot of change. And I'd keep that change in the cup holders of my car. And one day as I'm leaving my neighborhood, I see this little girl selling lemonade. No big deal. I drive right on past the lemonade stand. And then I had this impression come over me that said, turn around and give her all the money in your car. And I had like $30 worth of quarters, nickels, and dimes. And I thought, wow, that'd be really cool. That was a lot of money 36 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So I flipped my car around and rolled down my window and asked this, a little fourth grade girl, how much for a cup? And I think she said 25 cents. And I said, okay, I'll take one. So she pours it to me and hands it to me. And I set it on my dashboard. And I tell this little girl, hey, cup your hands like this. And so she does. And I just start scooping all this change into her hands, right? And she starts to freak out. She's like, no way. And I'm like, oh, hold on, I got more. And she's getting emotional. And I started getting emotional. I'm like, man, I cannot believe what I'm feeling right now. And anyway, I give her it's like 10 scoops. And she finally throws the last scoop on and runs into her house. And I'm thinking she's going to go tell her parents some dude just gave her $1 million. And as I pull away, I start to cry like I've never cried before in my entire life. And I don't know if you've ever cried so hard that you feel like you're cleansing your soul.
Oh yeah.
This is one of those soul
Those are
cleansing
good cries.
Yes.
Yes.
I have to pull my car over. I put it in park. I put my face in my hands. I mean, I get emotional even thinking about it now. And I sob like I've never cried before in my entire life. And for the first time in my life, at least that I could recognize at that moment, is I actually made someone's day. Instead of hurting someone, I was actually maybe helping someone. And because, as an addict, I was a lying, cheating,
Sure.
stealing, manipulative person. And I would hurt people to get what I want. And for the first time, I made this girl's day. And so I was on fire. And there's a beautiful quote I have in my office that says, the most powerful weapon on earth is a human soul on fire. This lit my soul on fire. And I thought, if that girl's there next Saturday, I'm going to give her all my money. So on purpose, I'd go back. And sure enough, she's there. I give her my money again, all of it that I'm earning as a bartender. And I do this every Saturday for the next 2.5 months. And every time I leave giving her the money, I start crying. And what I didn't realize what was happening is I'm giving away my money, but what I'm getting in return, and I didn't realize it at the time, is getting my life back. Like I started getting this desire, I want to help people. And that's when my heart started softening up, and that opened the door to like, I want to feel like that, because there was no drug or drink on the planet that could make me feel what I was feeling in that moment. You know, I had a client tell me this a couple years ago, and I put it to my memory, and it goes like this. I tried to find myself I could not see. I tried to find my God eluded me. I tried to find my brother, I found all three. And I thought, man, that is it. When we give of ourselves, man, what we get in return is way more than we could ever anticipate. And it's a lot of times not even monetary. It's more of what it did to my soul.
Of course, yeah.
And man, that just lit the fire. And I thought, I'm going to dedicate my life. And that just kind of built from there.
So I'm curious then about what happened subsequently, because a lot of people have these points that, again, just these kind of soul searching moments, that kind of these tentpole experiences in their life emotionally. But then the grind still continues, right? The day-to-day stuff. And so what did you do? Like, how did you find the strength after to keep going, you know, after you know, your 6 weeks worth of, or 10 weeks worth of change, you know, to this little girl who's probably living in Costa Rica right now, retired, right?
Right. Exactly. Totally. I set her up good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great question, David. What really honestly helped me through this is I had a mentor. This mentor took me under I get emotional about this guy too. He took me under his wing, and he's my mentor to this day, over 40 plus years. He took me under his wing without him helping and guiding me, because you're right. Life hit me back. I mean, addiction's there. I'm still wrestling with that, right?
Right. You don't become clean and sober just after 10 weeks of...
well, not only that, just the mindset and the belief system I had about myself was horrible. Right. And so he was there to help guide me through these really difficult moments, and I leaned on him a ton. You know, I'll often say, you know, if I can see a little further than others by standing on shoulders of giants. He's one of those giants in my life. And so, you know, anyone listening to this, I mean, it's so important that we have a mentor or someone that we can, you know, lean on and maybe bounce ideas off of, or even get vulnerable and say, hey, I'm struggling, man. Can we just talk for a minute? He was that guy for me. So, I mean, and there was other people as well, but this one guy, man, was my pillar.
Yeah. I love that. And I think there's, especially now in today's society, we're always looking for the quick fix. We're always looking for, you know, how can I get rid of this in the next 72 hours or whatever it is. And my experience has been anything of value, of long-term value, it just takes time. It takes time and effort, you know, and like you said, having someone to be there to support you was critical, because, you know, you had missteps after that and continued to make poor decisions and kind of unraveling all of that negative mental health stuff. You can't do that in 10 weeks. You can't do that. That takes months and sometimes years, depending on how ingrained it is. And to have someone with you there to support you, to say you're doing fine, you know, when you fall down, to have them help you back up. Because then after years and years and years, you're the type of person now where I would say your mindset is probably 180 degrees from where it was back then. And even if you tried to be super negative, you probably couldn't. You probably couldn't go a whole day.
It's actually laughable, honestly. Like there's times I'll get this negative thought in my head and I'll laugh. I'm like, where did that come from? Whereas before, way back then, I would believe that thought. Like I'm no good. I'm unlovable. No one likes me. And it was real to me. Right. You know, and I often will say this too, and I've learned this, that the most powerful force in the human psyche is the story you tell yourself about yourself. And my story back then was horrible. My story now is the truth, honestly. And that's when we're talking about our grandkids. When I see my grandkids, they remind me, that's who I am, the lovable, kind, understanding, forgiving, brave, tenacious, light, love, and energy. That's what they are. Well, that's me too. As adults, we forget that so quickly because, again, life can throw us a lot of tough things. And again, not to say that it's easy, but I think a lot of times our biggest problem is we forget who we are. Right.
And we not only do we forget who we are, but we think that it's not possible to get back to that as well.
Yeah.
We think, well, I'm never going to overcome this. I have mental health issues. We use words like hereditary and genetic
Right.
and chemical and things
Mhm.
like that. And I think all those things are true to a certain extent.
Sure.
But the real truth is you can change the way
Yeah.
you are. All of us can.
That's the good news, right?
That's the great news. You know, if
Yeah.
there was, even in your particular example, I mean, someone who started using alcohol at 11 years of age, I mean, there's something significant about that. And you could easily make the argument that that's kind of baked in.
Yeah.
Right. You know, that
Totally.
someone who starts so young and
Yeah.
then continues for, a decade after that. And I think a lot of people would say, well, that's just the way he's always going to be.
Yeah.
And he's never going to be able to overcome those
Mhm.
negative thoughts. And yet here you are, like I said, completely different than you were before.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just a message of hope to anyone out there who's struggling with chronic mental health. Like, it's absolutely changeable.
Yeah.
It is absolutely changeable. It requires a lot of sustained effort to change and assistance, like you said, hopefully a helper on the side to get you through that.
Well, I believe this, that your addiction or adversity, mental health issue, whatever it may be, is the wake up call to your greatness.
Yeah.
It's trying to wake you up going, hey, this isn't how it's supposed to be. So do something about it. It's trying to say, wake up and do something about it. And you're right. It's going to take some time. We want the quick fix. But if we have that sustained work and that consistency, that's where change starts to happen. And that is the great news, as you said. I mean, we can actually change that. And you're right. We do need people in our lives as well, like the mentor I had in my life. And I'm grateful for that, because without that, I don't know if I'd be talking to you today, to be honest.
Right. You probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, no, seriously, I mean,
Yeah.
just to have someone there to
For sure.
sustain you through that. We all
Yeah.
need someone like that. Let's talk a little bit about the business world, and because the rising generation is struggling with mental health more than other generations have, or at least we're talking about it more.
Yeah.
We're recognizing it more.
Which is good.
It's wonderful. Yeah. In your work in your coaching work and your other professional work, what can businesses do to kind of either recognize mental health in their employees or support them better? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I get that question a lot. And again, when you're running an organization or you have a large, organization that you are either a part of or running, it comes down to the leaders need to lead. And what I mean by that is we need to practice what we preach. Meaning, a lot of times a leader, if you will, of an organization will, they put up these walls like, I'm living, this is how I live my life. Everything's perfect. I got no issues. What's your guys' problem? Come on, kind of step up to the plate. Versus a leader who's like, no, I'm going to show you what vulnerability looks like.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you what it looks like to actually connect with someone. And if a leader will do that with his organization and his group of people, we can move mountains.
Yeah.
It's amazing if an employee can walk up to his CEO or his boss or whoever that may be and be vulnerable and know that it's a safe space. If a leader can create that,
right,
that's where the magic is. So it's kind of like, I'll never forget my mentor that I mentioned before. When I finally got clean and got my life somewhat on track, he asked what I want to do. And I said, I want to help people. I want to go around. I want to speak to people. I want to, do all these things. And he says, that's wonderful, Todd, because, and then he goes, you know what the hardest thing will be for you to do? I'm like, what's that? He goes, practice what you preach. And I learned that lesson, like early on. I was like, man, I would tell people to do certain things, but I wasn't doing them. And I'm like, man, he's right. I'm telling all these people to do this, but I'm not even doing them. So I really decided one day, I'm going to make sure if I'm going to tell someone to do something, I better be doing it myself. So if I'm a CEO, I'm going to lead by showing them, not just telling them. I want my people to feel safe, to feel seen, to feel like they can come talk to me if they're really struggling. And what that might even look like is connecting individually with each one of those people in my organization on a weekly basis, almost sitting down just like this. I mean, this is we're face to face, we're eye to eye. Let's talk. Tell me about how your day's going. How's your life going? How's your family? If that employee feels like, man, I can tell him anything, just like I could tell my mentor anything and he never judged me, he was just there to help me. He also guided me. That's what a CEO can do now. Well, if you're struggling here, let me give you some things that you can work on, right?
Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, that's when the flow starts to happen. That's when magic happens.
I think so. It's also, it's so hard to do. I
It
mean,
is.
there's so many barriers to that for people to do that. And part of it is just this idea of that success is somehow defined by the absence of problems or the absence of, issues or things like that. And I don't think that's the case at all, because
Right.
if that's the case, then no one would be successul.
I know,
So-
right?
right. I mean, it's got to be defined as how you deal with it, how you cope with it,
Yes.
how you get past the things that are
Yeah.
happening to you. But we just have this, I don't know, this feeling of we have to put that out there. So
Well, if I'm a leader, I got to also understand everyone's dealing with something that we don't even know about.
yeah,
What's that Henry David Thoreau quote? That most men lead lives of quiet desperation.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. If that's true, which I believe it is, I'm no better than you. We're the same, but you got some stuff that you're dealing with that I don't even know about. So I should also, if we're going to work together, it'd be good to get to know you.
Yeah.
I want to be curious of why you're struggling or who you are. And when I get curious, man, I get to know you better, right? If I just judge you, quickly, oh, he doesn't talk much or this, that, he must be struggling, but I just judge that, I don't talk to you. I don't connect with you.
Right.
But
right.
when I'm curious, man, I get to know you. When I get to know you, I cannot not like you, right? That's what a leader should do. Get to know your people. Get to know their lives. But the leader also needs to do their work on themselves too, because
Yeah,
they got a lot
exactly.
of pressure, right? So what work are they doing? They got to make sure they're working on their own mental health. Again, we got to practice what we preach.
Yeah.
Can't just say it. We got to actually have proof that we're doing the same thing.
That's awesome. I want to talk a little, I'm going to call upon your experience as a coach now.
Okay.
So at this time of year, a lot of people are experiencing kind of these post-holiday blues. We look forward to the holidays with great anticipation, and then, and I do this too. The anticipation's the fun part for me, and then it happens afterwards. I'm like, oh dang, now I got.
Yeah, like now what?
No, there are 364 days till this happens again, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I think you're the perfect person to answer this question. How can people remain positive and kind of hopeful regardless of circumstance?
Yeah.
That's a really critical thing, because life's, like you said, it's going to throw all sorts of things at us. So
Yeah.
what's your advice on that?
That's a great question. I want to first answer it this way. So James Allen, who wrote As a Man Thinketh, he's one of my heroes. I have studied all of his writings left and right. And if you were to sum up all of his writings, he says there's no power in the circumstance, just in the thoughts we put around it.
Mm.
So holidays, winter, cold, that's a circumstance, right? It's the thoughts we put around those things that cause us either to love it or to hate it, right? And so if we can learn to control our thinking around the holidays and around, it's winter time and everything's,
Right.
looks dark and bleak, we can make it a good thing or a bad thing based on what the story or the thoughts we're allowing to be in our minds, right? And so it's a simple little concept, but it's not easy to do.
That's exactly
It's not easy, but it's simple.
Yeah.
If we really look at it, I think we overcomplicate everything. And so we have to change our belief systems around what's coming up. The other thing what happens, which we do, and even anticipating something good, there's nothing wrong with that per se, but a lot of times we don't live in the moment.
Right.
We're always looking ahead. We're always like, I'll be happy when, or I'll be happy if. I'm guilty of it too. I do that even to this day, and I still have to catch myself and work on it. But yes, it's great to anticipate Christmas, but like you said, it's over and it's like, oh, it's kind of a letdown. Now what? Well, we got to learn to enjoy the journey. We got to learn to love the good times,
Right.
learn to love the bad times. One thing I teach my clients is this concept of learn to do the hard days well, because we're going to have hard days.
Right.
Learn to do the hard moments, the hard minutes, the hard hours well. We can start to learn the skills to do those well. Then we can be more in the moment versus, okay, I'll be happy when spring comes.
Right.
We do that. We're creating this narrative that's going to kind of hold us back and feel like we're stuck kind
Right.
of thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It becomes constantly elusive.
Yeah.
Because because happiness is always pending,
Yes.
right? When something happens, and then I kind of view it as like a trip, like a driving trip, and you think, well, when I get to the destination,
Yeah.
then I'll be happy. But am I missing out on the 10 hours of scenery and other things that
Right.
that I could
Yeah.
see? My wife and I took a long road trip a few years ago, and we took the time just to stop at cool places, stop at rest stops and other
Yeah.
things if something looked cool. And I rarely do that, because I'm like, we got to get to where we're
Let's
going.
hurry and go.
Exactly.
Don't let that semi beat us.
Right. But why? Right. But really, what difference does it make if it takes me 2 extra hours,
Right.
or even if an extra day or something?
Yeah,
I love that. There's so much power in the journey.
for sure.
And we kind of talked about this already, this idea of just when we're putting too much hope in these things that we think are going to make us happy, events, like spring or Christmas or summertime, or, when I can finally get in my pool again, something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's, like I said, it sets us up for kind of ongoing disappointment.
Right.
And we don't have to live that way.
Yeah. I think it's, and also adding, and again, it's cliche, but it's like finding things you can be grateful for in the moment you're sitting in, that you find yourself in. Like I had some really dark moments early on, and that's one of the things my mentor taught me. He's like, okay, yeah, this is really hard for you. It sucks for you right now, Todd. But where are some things, or what are some things you can point out that you can actually be grateful for, even though right now you're struggling?
Right.
And man, I think there's no more powerful of a stimulant than gratitude. And not just saying what you're grateful for, but grateful for and why. I'm grateful for this, but let me say why.
Right.
The why is where it really starts to sink in, and it kind of makes me go, okay, that's why I can look back and go, I'm grateful for all these moments. And so learning to be present is, again, it's a simple thing, but not easy to do.
Right.
Because we're trained to be looking at our phones, and we got so many distractions in our lives.
What's happening in the future, or what's happened in the past. And,
exactly. That's why I love what you and your wife did. You're like, hey, let's just take our time. Let's stop at these sites and let's just breathe for a minute, right? Can we just like relax? And I don't know if you know who Gary Vee is, who, he's a really famous motivational speaker, but he says this, his definition of success is waking up in a good mood. I love that. But I shared this with a client once, and the female client of mine, she replied back to me. She said, I think it's being comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
And I went, whoa. And that's when we're present. That's when we're comfortable in our own skin. When we're thinking ahead, we feel anxious. When we're thinking behind, we're usually feeling depressed.
Right.
So if we can get to that moment and be there and work on those kind of skills, that will go a long way in our own overall mental health.
I was just telling a friend the other day who had just been through a pretty traumatic experience in a relationship, and she was distraught, and I said, okay, we're in like page 2 of chapter 1 of this 10 chapter story here, and she was making a lot of guesses about chapter 10, about how this thing was going to end, right?
Right.
And I said, we can't talk about chapter 10 right now. We really don't know how. I said, maybe it ends and things work out well, or maybe it ends and it doesn't work out the way you hoped it would. But right now, we just have right now, and let's think about what can we do now to have a happier experience, to be more positive or something. Because too often we just there's too much that future tripping, like people call it, and it's not helpful. So
yeah, love that.
Boil that down. So we need to be present, and then be grateful, like you said. The stimulant of gratitude, right?
Yeah, and let's throw in there also kind of what I learned at the lemonade stand. If you want to have, you must give.
Yes.
Give to get, right? And I think when we go out of our way to help someone and make that your mission, if you will, and it could be as simple as holding the door. I could tell you about a client that holding the door and paying someone a compliment at school saved his life. I mean, seriously. So I think a lot of times when we're struggling, the last thing we want to do is get out of ourselves and help someone. But that may be the very thing we need to do. Not to say that we don't have our own issues and we still need help, but man, that might be the very thing. If you go out of your way and make a difference in someone's life, just by doing that, man, that alone could be the thing you needed.
Yeah.
So
drive around, find a lemonade stand.
Exactly. Go give your money at a lemonade stand.
That's right. Help out the next generation of
for sure.
Costa Rican millionaires.
Yeah.
Todd, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your story. I love the emotion that you feel. You're just a genuine person, and your clients are blessed for that. If they want to learn more about you, where can they go?
Thank you so much for having me, David. They can go to my website. It's toddinspires.com. And you can that's where you can get a link to my podcast and everything else that I'm doing. And on social media, my Instagram's at TSInspires. And you can look me up on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. And I'm there. And so, I'd love you guys to learn more.
Amazing. Thanks again for coming in.
Thanks for having me, David.
And thanks everyone for tuning in today. Remember that change is possible, but that it starts with you. And together we can increase our mental health momentum.